Now, Sri Lanka has defaulted on its $51 billion of external debt as it waits for a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. Its finance ministry says it's a last resort as an economic crisis causing weeks of protests deepens. Officials say the move will preserve foreign reserves for food and fuel imports. They said the impact of the pandemic and the Ukraine war made it impossible to pay its creditors. The country recently named a new central bank chief and almost doubled its key interest rate to help tackle soaring prices and shortages of essential goods.
The reason why I'm here protesting anyway is because I'm just really pissed off at the government, and I think the fact that it is very much an economic problem as well, which has been certainly building up over time, is why this Colombo middle class bracket is out and is protesting so hard. It's been depressing. It's just been really depressing to be being so frightened of the future and where it's gonna go, because there's already a people who are suffering and whose voices are not being amplified and heard, and then we're all here because we're being affected by the economy and by the economic problem.
And I'll be talking a little more about the economic situation in Sri Lanka with our business reporter Laird later in the programme. And you're watching Arise News Hour. Still ahead, we'll have Laird with more business. And does gas from Nigeria help some of Europe's supply problems? More on that in a moment. Stay with us.
As you adjust to the new realities for operating your business and engaging with your customers, let us help you transform your business into a digital powerhouse capable of adapting and taking advantage of today's opportunities. With our best-in-class array of digital solutions, you can conduct your business, receive payments from your customers, and perform transactions quickly, safely, and conveniently, because we've got you covered with the right people, technology, and service offerings. Contact us today and let us take your business to its zenith. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Welcome back. You're watching the Arise News Hour from London. Business news now, and a delegation of European ambassadors paid a visit to the Nigerian state oil company, the Nnpc, yesterday. They're hoping to get their hands on consignments of Nigerian gas in an effort to reduce reliance on Russian imports. Arise business analyst Bode Oshosemi explains the benefits for Nigeria.
A huge opportunity for Africa, especially Nigeria, that produces gas, to step up and, of course, take advantage as it comes up with the ideal hybrid for it in terms of how to position in clean energy, as well as taking advantage of transition fuels and, of course, the importance of diversifying geographically your sources, which makes Nigeria much more attractive in the present scenario.
Now, more on that and the other business news headlines of the day, including some blockbuster US inflation data and the latest developing world bond default. Arise correspondent Laird joins me again. Good to see you, Laurie. So the EU turning to Nigeria as it seeks to diversify sources of its natural gas, reduce its reliance on Russian energy. What difference can Nigerian gas make to Europe?
Well, this was quite a discreet visit, wasn't it? We didn't hear very much about this in the European press. We found out about this in the Nigerian press. Nigeria might be able to help, and it certainly could be beneficial to Nigeria. Nigeria does have gas to sell. The problem is, where does the gas go once it leaves Nigeria? It's not so simple. You can't put this stuff on boats and dump it off at a destination. It needs to be regasified and sent through a pipeline somewhere else. Now, Europe's terminals, regasification terminals, are for the most part operating at capacity. This shortage of gas predated the invasion of Ukraine, so Europe is trying to be loading up on gas, haven't been able to do it. Most of those gasification facilities are operating at capacity, with the exception of Spain. Spain operating at about 50% capacity, or it was before the war. But Spain isn't connected through pipelines to anywhere but France. And ultimately, who is leading this? It's Germany. Germany is most in the firing line from losing Russian gas. They don't have any terminals, any regasification facilities. So getting this gas from Nigeria, that's not the problem. The problem is, how do you get it to where it's most needed? And I'm not hearing any answers on how to do that. These terminals take about 5 years to build.
Well, we'll be keeping a close eye on that one. Let's turn to U.S. inflation data. The way you described it was blockbuster.
Charles, up 8.6% year on year, prices up more than 1% from 1 month to the next. This is the sort of inflation that America hasn't seen since the late 1970s, early 1980s. Now, here's the thing that's extraordinary. U.S. markets are taking this in their stride. The stock market is up quite a bit, and the feeling is from economists is this might be the peak. Most of that increase came from gasoline prices, which are starting to trend down just a little bit. I question that, because one of the big problems here was food prices up almost 9%, shelter, rents up almost 5%. The markets may be saying we're over the hump here. I'm not so sure about that. And this food price inflation, after what we're seeing in Ukraine, is only going to continue, could accelerate a bit.
Let's turn to Sri Lanka, a country facing a crippling financial crisis, temporarily suspending all foreign debt repayments. Tell us more about why they're taking these measures now.
It's remarkable that Sri Lanka has held out this long. This has been the worst kept secret in the global economic world. Sri Lanka's been hit in so many ways, but every developing country, or most indebted developing countries, are going to be hit by events in Russia and Ukraine in one way or the other. There'll be similarities amongst some of these developing countries. There'll be differences. Sri Lanka's been hit so much by tourism. Tourists aren't going to Sri Lanka, and Ukrainians and Russians were such a big part of that tourist mix. Add to that Sri Lanka depends on exporting tea to Russia. Those exports aren't getting through the way they were. So Sri Lanka's been hit by a number of different things. Protests are going on throughout the country, particularly in Colombo. I was speaking to a contact in Colombo earlier. He's talking about 13, 14-hour power cuts throughout the day. The country really is suffering. Now, they'll conserve a little bit of cash by not making those bond payments, but it's difficult to see how they survive. They're about to talk to the IMF. We'll see what the IMF comes up with.
Okay, Laurie, thanks very much indeed. Laurie Laird, Arise correspondent there, talking to me about developments in the business world.